You reach for your phone before you've even decided to. You light a cigarette, open the fridge, check your email again, and somewhere between the urge and the action, there was no decision at all. 1 second you're doing something else entirely, and the next you're already 3 steps into the habit, like you skipped the part where you chose it. What if every single one of your cravings, no matter how different they feel on the outside, is actually running on the exact same 3-part circuit in your brain? Most people treat each habit like its own separate problem, requiring its own separate fix. Quitting smoking feels like a different fight than quitting doom scrolling, which feels different again from breaking a snacking habit or a late-night shopping spree. Different willpower, different triggers, different excuses, different self-help books promising a different solution for each one. It makes sense to treat them as unrelated. They don't look alike, they don't feel alike, and the shame that comes with each one is usually pointed at something totally different. But neuroscientists who study habit formation see something else entirely underneath all of that. The same underlying loop, wearing a different costume every time. In 2008, neuroscientist Anne Graybiel published a landmark review showing that habitual behavior gets encoded deep in a brain region called the basal ganglia, not as one big, tangled mess, but as a tight, efficient loop built around 3 parts: a triggering context, an action sequence, and an outcome. Once that loop is encoded, it can run with almost no involvement from the parts of your brain responsible for deliberate, conscious decision-making, which is exactly why the reach can happen before the thought does. Psychologists Wendy Wood and David Neal found the same structure from a completely different angle, studying how people's real-world habits form around stable, repeated situations rather than conscious choices. The context does the triggering, not your intentions. You've actually met pieces of this loop already this season, even if it didn't look like one loop at the time. The reward half runs on the same dopamine-driven wanting system we covered a few episodes back, with everyday cravings. It's what makes the outcome feel worth chasing before you've even gotten it. The action half is easier to trigger the less friction it takes to start, which is why a habit with a low barrier to entry takes hold faster than one that requires effort just to begin. And the whole loop only fires reliably inside a stable, repeated context. Remove the cue, change the room, change the routine around it, and the habit goes quiet almost on its own. 3 separate episodes, 3 separate mechanisms, and it turns out they were always 3 pieces of one circuit. Here's the honest complication, and it's worth being precise about it. You've probably heard this 3-part loop called cue, routine, reward. That catchy phrase comes from Charles Duhigg's 2012 book, The Power of Habit, not from a peer-reviewed study. It's a simplified label built on top of real neuroscience, not itself a tested scientific finding. And the 3-word packaging is doing more work than the research alone would claim. Some habit researchers push back even further, arguing real habits are messier than one clean loop. A single behavior can have multiple overlapping cues firing at once, layered on top of each other, not just one tidy trigger waiting to be spotted. The neuroscience underneath is solid. The tidy 3-word bow on top of it is a simplification worth knowing about. If a craving is really a cue, an action, and a reward stacked into one circuit, then the moment you actually have power over it isn't during the craving itself, it's earlier, at the cue. That's the one part of the loop you can usually see coming, if you're paying attention. The notification sound, the empty afternoon stretching out in front of you, the walk past the kitchen on your way to somewhere else entirely. Once the action starts, you're already riding the loop downhill, and trying to stop it there is fighting the steepest part of the slope. Catch the cue instead, before the loop has any momentum, and you're standing at the only fork in the road that actually exists. For one day, don't try to fight any craving in the moment at all. Instead, just name its cue. Write down the exact thing that happened right before the urge hit, no matter how small or unrelated it seems. By the end of the day, you'll start seeing a short list repeat itself, the same 2 or 3 triggers showing up again and again in slightly different clothes. That list is the actual map of the loop running your day. Not a guess, not a vibe, an actual map. and a map is the first thing you need if you're ever going to reroute where it leads.